Hello, Fight Insight fans, viewers, and listeners. I'm your guest co-host for the day, Martnello. I'm a music producer from Toronto, Canada, and with me, as always, is your host, Timmy B. Before we start, please take a moment to follow, subscribe to us on whatever platform you're hearing or seeing me on right now. And if you like the podcast, leave a 5-star review or a comment. That helps to get the podcast noticed by people who don't already know about it. If you'd like to support the show, check out middaysquares.com and save 15% by using code FIGHTINSIGHT15. On today's episode, we talk to a Canadian UFC flyweight, discuss last week's guard pull seminar by Paul Craig, preview UFC 277, and a whole lot more. Timmy, hit it.
Yeah, it's Timmy B, Pretty D, Fight Insight. Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's one strike already, Martnello. Our guest today is a Canadian flyweight that you may recognize from her time on Tough Season 26, her incredible fights in the UFC that have earned her the current records of most finishes and most submissions in her division, or perhaps simply from her fiery red hair. A Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under legend Dean Thomas. She's currently scheduled to face Melissa Gatto on September 17th at Fight Night 210. A skilled podcaster in her own right. When she's not fighting or competing in jiu-jitsu competitions, you can hear her on her show, Mike Cuddles. I love that name, but not right now. Not right now. She is here on our podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, from Florida, please welcome
Gillian the Savage Robertson.
Whoa.
That was quite the introduction.
There you go. That's pretty good. Martnello, killing it.
I've been watching a lot of Bruce Buffer.
No, you're right on point there.
Nice. Gillian, how are you?
I'm doing great. As we were just talking about, 8 weeks out, ready to go. I've never been this excited for a fight in a while, so I'm ready to go.
Nice. It's so exciting. You've held, you are the holder of multiple records in your division, which is crazy. And the flyweight division is totally up in the air right now with everything that's going on. You've got the Tough season that's going on right now that we're flyweight females. Do you watch that show and go like, here's all the fresh meat I'm going to murder? Or what is how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I'm honestly, I've competed with Juliana Miller on a couple grappling cards. She's very active on the grappling scene. I always have been. So we've, I think like 2 or 3 cards. It's literally, we've seen each other like one weekend I saw her in Mexico, and the next weekend I saw her in Vegas. We were both competing on different cards. And it's like, we're both just all over the place, constantly competing. So she's always someone I've had a lot of respect for. So she's honestly the main reason that I watched this season of Tough. So, now to see her in the finale, see her competing, that's an awesome thing. And but I definitely, like, girls like her, I see as competition in the future. There's no doubt in my mind that a girl like her, I will be standing across the cage from in a couple of years. Yeah,
for sure. And you'll be the champion by that time. So she'll have worked her way up to contend for your title. Is that what you're predicting?
Oh yeah, I feel like I'm probably about, I would say, a couple years away from the title. I definitely need a couple more wins under my belt, get on a little bit of a win streak, and then I'll be ready for that shot.
Yeah, I mean that the division is like wide open, right? I mean, there's kind of like a little bit of a bottleneck at the top. So, I mean, I would say just a couple wins and you've got to be right in there, right? A couple of well-placed wins.
Oh yeah, I definitely think that it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say that after a couple wins that I would be able to be up there in title contention. I definitely feel like right now, really the only person who is a contender would be if Tyler got the rematch.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And what did you think of Miesha Tate? I mean, that was a crazy fight, no?
It was definitely a crazy fight, but I think Valentina was just too far ahead of Lauren to even.
Oh no!
I'm saying
Valentina
Miesha,
ahead of Lauren. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever they fought, to put like Miesha and Lauren in the same category as Valentina, I feel like isn't necessarily just Valentina. I feel like it's just that much farther ahead of girls like that.
Yeah. But it just takes one person to crack that code, and then that's it, right?
Exactly. And I feel like Valentina's last fight with Tyler showed a lot of holes in her game. It showed a lot of Tyler was dominating a lot of that fight until the headbutt. So it's like, who's to say Tyler wouldn't have won the fight if she didn't get that accidental head clash?
Yeah, that's true. Martinello, do you see how polite the Savage is? I feel like it's because she's Canadian. You know what I mean? Like, you could be talking more trash, but she's very, very polite. I do want to say, I found out that you moved to Florida, or you moved to the States when you were 7 years old.
Correct.
So then even more so, it's even cooler that you represent Canada, because like you've lived most of your life in the States. So did you always come back to Canada? You have like I mean, we're here in Toronto, Canada, of course. But do you have a love for Canada? Like, your family's still here, or what's the connection?
Yeah. So obviously I was born there, lived there till I was 7, and my grandparents still currently live there to this day. I had a set of grandparents growing up. They lived in St. Catharines, and my other set of grandparents lived in Niagara Falls. So it's like multiple times a year, I would always be going up there. And I just feel like Canada's always really been home to me.
Nice. Martinello, do you know her grandparents? You saying that you know most people in Canada.
Yeah, when I go to the grocery store in Niagara Falls, I always run into them.
Gillian, I wanted to talk to you about your gym, because I'm on this podcast. We often talk about like gym drama and stuff like that. During the pandemic, you ended up leaving ATT. Is that right?
Correct.
Dean Thomas went off on his own. You're training in what appears to be his garage. Is that still happening?
Not at the moment anymore. That's what was happening for a couple years. For probably about 2 or 3 years there, we were training out of Dean's garage primarily. I'm still working privately with Dean a couple times a week, but just honestly, he's spread so thin. He's constantly going everywhere for the UFC. He's in a different country every other week. So he just doesn't have enough time anymore to necessarily dedicate to make me into the world champion that I need to be. But so whenever he is in town, we are working together still. But other than that, I am working with a new gym down in Miami called Goat Shed. And I absolutely love it there, honestly. I feel like just the whole environment there, it's meant to build champions.
That gym, Martinello, have you seen that gym, the Goat Shed?
No.
You got go online.
Sounds like one of the best names in.
Yeah, the logo is amazing, but I mean, it just is beautiful. So, how did you get connected to that gym, and who's there with you?
So originally, when I was working with Dean, I only had a couple of boys to work with, so I just needed different bodies, and we were traveling constantly to get work. So I've been to gyms literally all up and down the coast, from Miami to Orlando. I've been to every single gym there. And for like the leader of the Goat Shed, Asim, he seems to really click with my type of fighting style, where I feel like it's more MMA. It's not necessarily jujitsu and striking and wrestling and keeping this like, I feel like so many gyms, they're teaching it as a separate sport. And he just seems like he's that bit ahead of the game. And he also has a great team of 125-pound boys that are all professional fighters. So it just gives me a good supply of people to work with, you know, a good high level group of boys to work with. They have one of their boys is fighting on the Contender Series 3 days after me, Roy Echeverria. So they're all very high level, most of them undefeated pros, and it's great work for me.
Oh, that's awesome. Dean Thomas, like a legend, like I said in the intro. Actually, Martinello was one of my first MMA coaches, and I always remember the best advice that he gave me, like right at one of the very first lessons. I'm sure you don't remember this, Martinello, but he puts me on the ground, on my back, puts another guy on top in mount. Like, it's kind of unfair to start the guy in mount position, but okay, fine. So the guy gets full mount, and then he's like telling the guy what to do. And then he looks at me and he's like, all right, Tim, your job is to not get punched in the face. And I was like, thanks, buddy. Like, that's generally my rule in life. But that was the best advice he ever gave me. What is the best advice that Dean Thomas has ever given you?
Oh, that's a tough one, right on the spot there. I'm like,
no prep.
Yeah, Dean's just honestly, literally, I hear myself say things sometimes, and I'm like, where did I get that? And then I hear him say it. I'm like, oh, that's why. I'm like, I feel like just so many things that he preaches, I live my like training by, and the way that I approach the sport and everything is specifically on how he like pretty much raised me since I was 16 in the sport, you know?
Yeah.
I would say probably one of the most important things is that he always tells me to take in every moment and to like really appreciate every second of this, because like this is literally my dream coming true right now. And in the mix of everything, sometimes it's easy to forget that when you're training and cutting weight, and it gets pretty miserable a lot of times through fight camp. So just try to take in every single moment, and especially when it comes to fight time and you're sitting there nervous as anything in the back room. And because when it comes time when you do have to retire, you're going to miss those moments. You're going to wish you could have been nervous sitting in the back locker room. So just try to appreciate every single moment. And that'll, I feel like, really helps you perform too, because then it really brings out your love for the sport.
You know, it's a great way to look at it, even in life in general. Like what you're saying, like it resonates a lot because, like Tim was saying, you know, we used to compete and train like a long time ago, and just on the amateur level in Muay Thai and MMA. And one of the things that I remember was thinking, like, you know, you put in so much time and effort into cutting weight, training, dieting, sacrificing all this stuff, and then the fight comes, and then before you know it, you're in the back taking your gloves off, and it's over. And I always used to think like what happened? Like all of that work for something so quick. And so I've always told people that I'm training with, or that I'm training, if we're walking out and I'm in their corner, you know, I'm in their ear. I'm like, you know, look around, look at everything around you, take it in, take a deep breath, look at all these people here. Remember what it smells like, sounds like, looks like, all these things, because before you know it, it's over. And you can apply that anywhere in life.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. I'm like, I feel like you don't even realize that all the hard work that goes into just a short 15 minutes or less.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's normally less when Martnello fights. He was knocking dudes out. Like first 30 seconds, it's over. The fight's over. It's so fast.
Yeah, right. I usually just stub my toe on the way into the ring and find a way out.
Savage, you've got you know, the records for the submissions in flyweight. I do want to ask you one thing, and I asked one of my prior guests about it, but her connection was not great, so we couldn't really get into it too much. A few weeks ago, we had Julia Stoliarenko, and she snapped Jessica Rose Clark's arm. Did you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I've been fighting with like everybody in my circle about this, but you have 3 arm bars in your professional career. There is nothing in the rules to stop you from just snapping that arm quick, right?
No.
So is it like a professional thing? Is it a courtesy thing? Like, what is it that stops? Because Julia then goes on the mic and says, I'm snapping arms. I can't afford to lose anymore. It's like, that's kind of, I don't know. What do you think about that as a jiu-jitsu practitioner yourself, someone who's got the armbar finishes?
I think it also comes down to like maybe positioning, how the armbar happened exactly. Sometimes it's in a better position to snap or dislocate than others, you know. And it's also how quick the other girl taps too. Some girls aren't like they're tapping too quick. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Some girls will tap too quick, so you won't have an opportunity to snap it necessarily. You've got the fight over before that. So I guess honestly though, the goal is to like try to break it. Like that's my only objective in going for an armbar, is trying to break that arm or make her tap before at that moment.
So if she's not tapping, you're trying to break the arm.
100%. And it's like in that moment, like I've legitimately been sitting there like trying to bend a girl's arm thinking like, why won't it break? And then I watch the fight after and I'm like, oh, this is so gross. Like I hate watching it after.
Yeah,
this is why I don't fight anymore. I can't. I don't have the stomach for that.
Yeah. All right. I'm trying to find a fighter that says, no, I'm not breaking arms. I'm respectful to them, blah, blah, blah. Because Jessica Rose Clark now has gone on her Instagram. It's like, it's heart wrenching because now she says she's out for over a year. She said the doctor has already told her like, this thing is going to take you well over a year. And it's not like she tapped and the girl held it in too long. It's not like it even went very slow. Like it just kind of like, she just got it and snapped it off. Right. So
it's like, quite frankly, it's the sport. It's what happens. It's like we're trying to like you don't want to end each other's careers, but you're trying to take the other person out that night, whatever it takes. Like a lot of people always complain about the linear knee kicks too, but I'm like, if like it's another tactic, it's another way to take your opponent out. So it is controversial, it is dangerous, but it's something that I probably still do. Yeah.
Yeah, you mean this one, right? The Khalil.
Oh, good God.
Exactly.
Oh, that's such a bad one. I got a lot of problems with that kick too. That is tough. Gillian, I really appreciate you coming on. I was saying before the podcast started that we got more fan reaction for you than I think any guest in our 75, 76 episode history, right? We've had a different guest from around the world of combat sports every episode and no reaction like the one for you. So I do want to respect people and get to some of their fan questions for you, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, no, I love all my fans. I love all the support. And honestly, like it's always still a shock to me when I have fans. Like if somebody comes up to me, they're like, "Can I take a picture?" I'm like, "Oh, of course!" Like I'm so it's mind-boggling to me that I have a fan.
No, you have tons. This one was from Sassy7, and she asks, "How often do you have to dye your hair?"
So I usually actually only do it before my fights, but it's because I use a shampoo and conditioner that like it's like bright red. So it's constantly bleeding red and it's a lot to deal with.
All right. We talk a lot about style and haircuts on this podcast. Gillian, I believe that like if you change your hairstyle before a fight, I'm betting against you 100% of the time. Like when people change their hairstyle, I'm like, oh, that's a bad sign. So I appreciate that you've always kept it red. It's good. Next question is from Frankie. Oh, well, I got lots of these. Frankie _416 says, "Come party in Welland." Do you have any connection to Welland, or is this guy just the guy in Welland that wants you to party?
Yeah, just somebody who wants me to party.
All right.
I'm pretty sure that's all there is to do in Welland. Just drink Coors Light and watch UFC.
That's fine. I got a ton of these questions. Cracking the fitness code was the first to chime in with it, though. Are you single?
No, I'm not. I've been in a relationship for a couple months now.
Oh my God, we just lost like 20 viewers.
All my followers gone.
Gone. Yeah. Actually, you know what? We had a guest on the podcast that has a husband and children, and she never says it. And then she told me before the podcast started, she was like, "Don't say anything, but I have a husband and kids. I don't want anybody to know because my Instagram is like this, and I don't want you to." I was like, "What?"
And it's understandable, especially like the way that so much of female MMA is marketed. I feel like it is so much sexual. It is like how, I don't know, all girls that is the platform that they're using to market themselves. So it is understandable that a guy in the picture would like deter that.
Yeah. You don't get the follows. Getting away from those kind of questions, Burn Rush 20 asks, "What is the number one thing on your bucket list?"
Ooh, gosh, I don't really like. I feel like I do everything that I like. Anything that I've ever like wanted to do, I've done it. Or I can't think of anything specifically that like I want to go do this. I've had to do this. And honestly, anything that I've felt like that, nothing as exciting as fighting to me. So I'm like, I've went free diving with sharks. I've went skydiving, like things like that. It's just nothing gives you that thrill like stepping into the cage. So I'm like, just every time I get to do that, it's like that new thrill, that new step for me.
That or being a guest on the Fight Insight podcast.
That's top of the list right there.
Yes, that was the answer I was looking for. I mean, you've literally choked out Shaquille O'Neal. She made
Honestly,
Shaquille tap.
The biggest, like, you can't even describe, like, put like 3 heavyweights together and that's about his size. Cause it's like, it's not that he's just tall, but he's just wide too. Just so huge.
Yeah, he's crazy. I mean, Martnello, stand up. Show Savage how big you are. You're a big boy.
I'm not even gonna fit in here. I'm tall, but I'm not like Shaq tall.
No, all right. I was just kidding. I didn't think he would actually stand up.
I'm trying to get the depth of the room, you know.
Yeah. All right. Let me see here. Another question is how important is it for you for mic cuddles to keep going? And I think that's a good one because you've got this podcast, I like it. It's good. Do you enjoy it? Do you have a good time with it?
Yeah, it's definitely an avenue that I'd like to. It's something that I'd like to pursue more after fighting. So I'm trying to get into it a little bit now with this podcast, where I'd like to look into either like commentary, broadcasting, something like that, so I could stay within the sport but not really be a part of the sport after fighting. You know, when I'm done getting punched in the face, I would still like to be a part of the sport in some way. So I feel like I'm just using the podcast as an avenue to get better at talking. I'm like, for me, I've always been kind of socially awkward and not great with like interviews, podcasts, things like that. So it's just a skill that I'm trying to develop.
I feel like, again, that's the Canadian in you, because I feel like you're doing really well on this podcast. I mean, you're very engaging and approachable, so you're doing a great job now. I will say, actually, when I was researching for this podcast, I was looking up some of the episodes of Mike Cuddles, and some of the earlier ones, I could see you were a lot more quiet. You kind of let the other guy kind of take the lead, but as the episodes have gone, then you were like taking a more dominant role in it. So yeah, it's good.
If you like, so the Tough House was my first experience with media at all. And we would do interviews every single day in the Tough House. And after them, I would look like I got out of the sauna. I would just be dripping in sweat, so nervous. I'm like, so compared to then, that was like 4 or 5 years ago till now, I've definitely made leaps and bounds to how I am on a mic or in front of a camera. But it's definitely taken a lot of practice.
Nice. No, it's amazing. I appreciate the time that you came here. Before we let you go, is there anything that you wanted to say to fans, friends, viewers, listeners?
Just follow me at savage_UFC on Twitter and Instagram, and watch me fight in 8 weeks.
Yeah, shoot. I'm going to put that down there. I will leave that banner scrolling for the rest of the podcast so people know. But yeah, it's at savage_UFC. So follow you there. The fight that's coming up, how do you predict it's going to win? Just so I can make a lot of money on this. I need the exact round and method.
I'm usually always so like sold on going for the rear naked, like saying that I'm going to get the submission. But honestly, I feel like being at this new gym right now, I'm just such a well-rounded fighter. I don't know. I just really want to display everything. I want to do a lot of ground and pound. But me saying that, she's probably going to fall into a choke, not wanting to get punched in the face. So I'll go with second round rear naked choke.
Second round rear naked choke. I'm going to call my bookie right now. Savage. Gillian, thank you so much. No. Last question I will ask you as well. And I got to start doing this with my guests. Who is someone that you would recommend that I reach out to get on this podcast?
I would say I just talked about him. He's fighting 3 days after me, Roy Echeverria. He's fighting in the Contender Series, and he's going to be one to look out for when he does get signed that night.
That's the dude we will reach out to. Thank you so much, Gillian. I appreciate you being on the podcast so much. Martnello, anything to say before we let her go?
Thanks, Gillian. It was great chatting with you.
It was awesome to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you so much, and always representing Canada. And here in Canada, we're always cheering for you.
Oh, that's my favorite part. I'm like, there's been no better fight for me than when I fought in Edmonton.
Yes. Well, when you fight in Toronto, it's going to go bananas, and we will be here for you. So good luck. Good luck in your next fight. Good luck in all your coming fights. You will be champion before 2 years. I know that for sure.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate all the support.
See you, Jillian. All right, buddy.
Wow.
Good job. How did you enjoy that?
Very well spoken.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes when you meet fighters, I feel like you never know what you're going to get. You might get somebody who's really sharp, and you might get people that we call soup cans, they've been dropped once or twice on their heads, and you get No,
but so polite, so friendly, so like engaging. I greatly appreciate her coming on the podcast. Definitely watch out for her. We'll keep you guys on notice about her fights when they're coming up. And Martnello, it's hard for me to call you Martnello. I realize that as the podcast goes on.
So Martnello is my actual last name, but the way I have it here in my music production, like my artist name is actually, people say Martnello. So the name is spelled M-A-R-T.
Did you not just say the same thing twice?
No, you're saying Martnello,
Okay.
Martnello. It's like Toronto.
Martnello.
You know how people do that? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. All
yeah,
right.
you're saying it like a foreigner.
Okay. Well, I am. All right. I do want to say to people that are here because of Gillian Robertson, thank you so much for coming and watching the podcast. Next week on the podcast, we've got UFC fighter Chase the Vanilla Gorilla Sherman. Martnello, there is, I don't know if you know this gentleman. He has a crazy story with the UFC that we have like followed on our podcast. We were talking about it because he was with the UFC, got let go, then he got cut again. Then, like 3 days later, they re-sign him on a short notice fight and apparently say, doesn't matter whether you win or lose, we're going to give you another fight guaranteed. To which I was like, fuck no, they're never going to honor that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then that fight gets canceled because if someone was sick, it gets rebooked. He loses in the first round. And I'm like, there it goes. Like, are they really going to honor this? They do honor it, bring him back, and he gets one of the greatest knockouts of the night on that return fight. So, I mean, this guy's career is like up and down. Like, it's got to be an emotional roller coaster. So excited to talk to him. So Chase the Vanilla Gorilla Sherman is on next week.
Sometimes that's like the greatest like story, you know, when people just go through it and they're just sticking to it, just still pushing and still going, you know?
Dude, it's crazy. And I mean, like, he's a great fighter. He's just had some unlucky runs. And I mean, coming in on a short notice, and I think it was either COVID or something, but he got sick on that short notice. So they bumped it 1 week. He then comes back, unfortunately loses, but then they do honor the fight. And I just want to talk to him about like the contract and how that all worked out. Like, it's just crazy, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. As Martnello said at the beginning of the podcast, and as you guys know, check out middaysquares.com. Use code FIGHTINSIGHT15 to save 15% on your order, middaysquares.com. And buddy, I'm going to do a Friends of the Podcast update.
Okay.
All right. So 2 weeks ago, we had Katharina Leaner on. She's a Invicta fighter, bantamweight. I do want to tell people, she told us at the end of the podcast, go subscribe to my OnlyFans. Okay. And we were like, oh, OnlyFans, hello. And we didn't know what that, I didn't really know what that meant. Katharina Leaner, Lehner. Are you looking it up now?
No, I would never do that.
Okay. Anyways, my co-host at the time, I was like, hey, Taishay, like, what does that mean? You know, like, is that what I think it is? And she's like, no, it can be anything. It is what I thought it was.
It is.
So if you are listening to this podcast and you're watching the Katharina Leaner and going, I don't know what it is, I would suggest you might want to go take a look at the OnlyFans for her. So I'm trying to give her some business that way. Now, BKFC, how much BKFC are you watching, buddy?
I'm like watching the headlines.
Okay. On August 20th, you have to spend the $5 to get the app because this card is bonkers. You seeing that on screen? This is August 20th in London, headlined by MVP versus Platinum Perry.
Wait, so how does this work? Is MVP still with Bellator?
I have no idea how this works out. I think they just allowed him to do this because, I mean, it's not MMA.
I wonder if they're involved.
I don't know, but I mean, it's MVP versus Mike Platinum Perry. That fight,
it's going to be crazy.
Amazing. Now, as it relates to Friends of the Podcast update, Charissa Sweetheart Segala, we had on the podcast, she's fighting Paige Van Zandt. So that's bonkers. Wow. When she was on our podcast, she was hinting that she wanted the Paige Van Zandt fight and she wanted it to be in London. She wanted it to be the main event of that card.
And she got it.
So she got it. I mean, she's not main event because we've got this MVP Platinum, but that is a massive fight card to be on. And she's fighting Paige Van Zandt, which is a great fight. So good luck to our good friend Charissa Segala. And then the other fight on the card is our former guest of the podcast, Connor Tierney, the Brumtown Bomber from Birmingham, England. And he fights Elmore. And that's a big fight. This is going to be the fight that gets him to the title. So two of our podcast guests co-headlining the August 20th BKFC card. And that news just kind of all came out. Amazing, man. That card's going to be wicked. Yeah.
You got to make a pitch to get MVP or Mike Perry on here.
Do you know how hard I've been trying to get Mike Perry on? Like,
yeah. I feel like he's the kind of guy you can't talk to directly. He has people.
I've tried going through his wife. I've tried messaging through his wife.
Because
I don't know,
DMing, you started DMing.
Maybe she messaged.
Did you see what happened to the guy at the restaurant that went after his wife?
No.
Well, you don't remember that? Like a while ago, some guy said something to his wife.
Oh, wasn't it an old man?
Yeah, it was. He beat him up.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
And you're DMing her. You're wild.
No, not DM. I messaged. Maybe I did. No, I think I messaged just like on her post or something. You know what I mean? To try and get his attention. That's how I'm quite successful with getting people, just messaging on their post. Because the DM, they won't see it, right? Because it's hidden in the request.
Don't DM Mike Perry's wife.
All right, I'll try not to. Anyways, but I mean, that's insane. That fight card is going to be great. But those are two of our friends of the podcast. Now, you said at the beginning of the podcast that we were going to talk about the guard pull seminar.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about that. Oh my God. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to show Gillian this.
What is this?
Fan art, my friend.
Fan art?
From our friends at MMA Social Squad. I always forget because I get into the interview. I will send her this and show her this, but that's a pretty good
that's pretty
fan
cool.
art. Yeah, it's pretty awesome, man. All right. Paul Craig. You watched the fight this weekend?
I did.
All right.
You go for it.
I mean, we should call
What
this
do you think?
Fall Craig. Get that joke?
I do.
All right. So Fall Craig, that was from our buddies. That joke is brought to you by MMA_gains. They coined that on one of our posts. Holy cow, man. What the hell was this guy doing? I mean, I put a meme up about it. So if you didn't see the fight, I mean, the guy comes to the weigh-ins. He's ripping his shirt off. He's like, a killer. He's a big boy, looking like he's going to murder the guy. And then he gets to the fight and he tries to pull guard 7,006 times. And then he'll lie there on the ground and he looks at the ref as if like, why aren't you forcing the guy to come in and attack me? Like,
for the first time in MMA history, the ref tells the guy standing on his feet to get on the ground.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, he literally did that. Paul Craig is on the ground and goes, what? And he's like looking at the ref as if like, why are you making me stand up?
You know what? Like when I was watching it happen, I was like, wow, I'm like, this is kind of badass. I'm like, this is like OG UFC styles where you only had a guy that knew wrestling and grappling versus a guy that is a stand-up guy. And I'm like, that's so cool. Like we haven't seen that in years because now everybody's so well-rounded. Everybody's a fighter. Everybody's a mixed martial artist rather than like a grappler or like a Muay Thai fighter or something like that.
Yeah.
So I thought it was pretty cool. And then the more I thought about it, the less I thought it was cool because like, I don't know. It's like, you're exactly that. Like you're this top caliber dude. You look like a monster. Like if we're walking down a dark alley.
Yeah. No offense. This is not a Damian Maya. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it's not a guy that doesn't look physically imposing, right? This guy looks like a superhero.
Yeah. And like, in all honesty, when he was throwing hands, he was landing some stuff.
Yeah.
I get why you don't want to be on the feet with this dude, but at least Damian Maya is like, he doesn't even land punches. He just takes them and then takes you down. But with Paul Craig, it's like, dude, cool. We get it. You want to go to the ground. No problem. And I think on the in-fight commentary, they were also saying like, there's a big difference then from pulling guard. Cause I'm pretty sure at one point he pulled him into mount, like on top of him.
And times pulls him into full mount.
A full mount. There's a difference between that and controlling him than being on top and controlling. So it seems to me like, you'd think you would want to risk a couple of punches, even though you're not just waiting in taking punches, you're actually landing punches to set up a better takedown. And I think at one point in the fight, what's his name that he was fighting?
Ozdemir,
Volkan. Yeah, Volkan was, I think at one point he was ahead on takedowns. Like he had actually taken him down. And I think it's like the way they fell. Like
I think because the because I think the judges are confused. It's like, wait, who's taking who down here? Like, how does
Yeah,
Ozdemir keep landing on top in
yeah.
full mount? Like, I guess that's a
So
takedown
weird.
for Ozdemir.
Yeah, and like I think there was one point where Ozdemir was throwing punches, and Paul Craig's like, it looked like he was trying to bait him into getting on top of him, like he was pretending like his knees went weak, and then he kind of fell. And it was just weird. I don't know. It's a and it didn't work out for him in the end. So
No,
I wonder
did
how
not.
dumb he feels
Okay,
now.
I mean, I've watched all his past fights. He never fights like that. Like, it's never so blatant. That said, I mean, he has pulled guard before, but then he gets it the one time. So it's not like we've ever seen him for 15 minutes
Hmm.
attempt pulling guard, falling down to his back, and the other guy just getting up and walking away. And then it looks kind of silly. Now, they're in England, so he's the hometown guy, right? He's got home crowd advantage.
Yeah.
The commentators were like, it's tough to score this fight. Like, what? I was like,
Imagine.
what are you talking about? How on
Yeah.
earth is a judge going to score this for him? Like, I was so baffled by that comment, and then I'm like, are they fucking going to give this guy even one round
Yeah.
for
Well, I
pulling
think
guard?
arguably it's possible the first round looked competitive, and then the
Yeah,
second and third, because now you kind of knew what was going on, and it was a little bit easier to watch.
yeah.
But like, imagine being Vulcan. Like, what a fight! All you do is just box some dude up, stuff a bunch of takedowns, and then you get a win.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're discrediting Vulcan a bit because he did very well to avoid the submissions. Like, he was caught in that heel hook a little bit for that. I think that
Yeah.
was the first round, right? When he kind of was in trouble with the heel hook a bit.
Yeah.
And he could never really overcommit to his punches or kicks because he always felt like, well, crap, the guy, I can see now this guy's full game
Mhm.
is just to take me down.
It takes two to tango, as they say, right? And if somebody's constantly shooting on you and trying to take you down like that, he's got to do what he's got to do. You can't blame the guy like for not sticking his hips out there for a takedown, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So for
No,
what he was
exactly.
dealing with, he did a great job.
Now, it was funny because I'm gonna play a clip here of a guy. Okay, so when the guy's on the ground, the other guy doesn't go on top. Then the ref kind of goes, "Okay, stop, get up," right?
Hmm.
So you know how the ref kind of intervenes and kind of puts a slight pause in the action while he calls the guy up?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to play something on the screen, and this is a clip I saw online. I don't know what fight this is or what organization. It's not UFC. Watch what happens with this one when the ref does not officially cause a pause in the action.
Let's see.
Yeah, he doesn't want to fall into the trap. But
Defend yourself at all times.
I mean, that's the craziest thing. So if you're not watching this on video, then you got to come over to YouTube or Spotify where we have the video podcast. But the guy's on the ground. The guy backs up, lets him get up, but not enough to where the ref stops it. So as he gets up and he's not defending, the guy just knocks him out.
Yeah, it looks like it too because the guy starts walking away with his back to him and like starts
Yeah.
like you can tell he loosens up so the ref was probably like, oh, you know what? He's gonna
I
let him
guess
go.
I
He's
don't
not.
need to do it.
She didn't expect him to turn around, but that happened in a boxing fight as well too. Was it Floyd Mayweather that did that?
Is that the one where the guy's almost got his back turned and he kind of throws the hook around the front of the
No,
head?
no, they're like the ref is like separating them, like they're clinched and they're in the middle of the ring and they go to step back. And normally the ref steps in the middle, pushes them back, and then gives the karate chop and they go again. But before that even happened, they step back and I think it was Floyd. I could be wrong. I'm not like a
Yeah,
huge,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
huge
yeah.
boxing fanatic. I don't watch every fight, but anyway, something similar to that. But protect yourself at all times.
Dude, okay. What happens to Paul Craig now? They don't release this guy. This guy's too big of a name, too big of a character. But he cannot do that in another fight. Dana will go ballistic.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see any post-fight commentary yet,
No.
but I'm sure Dana's gonna say something, and I'm sure they have ways of back channeling and stuff and telling these guys like, hey, like, come on, what was that? And even still, like, I can't imagine he goes back and watches that fight and was like, yeah, look how cool I am. Like, look how good I was. Like, I think, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty amazing because the crowd was, I mean, this is how insane it is. The crowd was almost booing Ozdemir for getting up and walking away and not engaging him on the ground, to which it's like baffling. And then I think it was like a few fights later, I forget which fight it was, and another guy was like on the ground and the crowd was booing the guy on the ground, like to say like, hurry up and get up. And it's like, what? Like, it's so biased.
Right.
But there is no way Paul Craig can do that anymore. I mean, never again. This guy cannot do that. His career's on the line if he does that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And, it comes down to like matchmaking and stuff too, right? Like the UFC is trying to make a matchup. They give him a good stand-up guy who's been knocking people out and give him a grappler. But I don't think we've ever seen anything that extreme.
No. And I think like if you're the next guy to fight Paul Craig, no matter what your discipline is, I think you're taking a page out of Volkan's book.
Yeah.
And you're like, look, I'm going to let him pull me down and then I'm just going to stand back up. Or like, I'm going to keep defending that guard pull.
Yeah.
And then just get out of the way. I mean, that's crazy, man. I've never seen anything like that. That was one of the weirdest things. Anyways, next on our agenda, and we're doing very well on time here. We're going to talk. Oh, you want to talk about Paddy?
Yeah. Just like, not necessarily like about him specifically.
Yeah.
Maybe just like the situation, because this, for the first time in like watching UFC in a long time, I noticed that, man, they set this kid up. Like, holy, we've seen it before where people, get tune-up fights and, they like look at like McGregor. I actually said to myself before this, like, I'm not going to bring up Conor McGregor once because he doesn't need to be talked to. But I'm just using him because it's probably the most relevant example. When he started on the come up, they gave him a couple fights to
Marcus Brimage, Dennis Seaver. Yeah.
But Marcus Brimage and Dennis Seaver are real dudes. Like, if you need to know how to fight if you're fighting those guys. They got holes in their game and they're not necessarily championship caliber, but like those are real fighters. Like they've proven themselves. They have been through it. This dude that they set Paddy up against, the size, the physique, everything about this was a setup. Like, this was the most blatant setup I've ever seen in an MMA fight, and I've seen a lot of fights, and I was just
okay. To be fair, Jordan Levitt, that's the guy he's fighting. Former guest of the podcast, so watch your mouth.
Okay,
great guy.
How'd you even get him? Is he even an MMA fighter? Or they found him up selling tickets at the out front scalping, and they're like, "Hey, buddy, here's some gloves." You
son of a bitch. He was on Dana White Contender Series.
Right.
He had 2 or 3 good wins in the UFC. I think he lost one, won 3. Slam, knockout, submission, right? Like, he's a legit fighter. He's awkward. He's not your typical look. He's not your typical act. He's a funny guy. His YouTube page is him doing book reviews on like books like Lord of the Rings. Like, he's an interesting character. That said, I had all my money on him to beat Paddy. And the fight...
Who's paying your mortgage this month?
Hopefully the wife will.
It's not you.
He was not getting fully outclassed in that fight, though. Until it went down to the ground in that last bit.
Was he in the fight, though? Okay, this isn't it. Okay, listen. I'm not here to.
Okay, so what are you saying? You're just saying you're just saying that they're setting him up.
I want to knock on the UFC because they set him up. Yeah. They set this guy up. You give somebody like Paddy, who's super mentally checked in and very strong and very out there and very in your face, and they're like, like this guy, like you're saying, is a bit dorky, a little nerdy, like whatever it is. And they're gonna put these two. The contrast is unbelievable between the two. So naturally, everybody's gonna jump on Paddy's side, and then they get in there, and Paddy's triple his size, this
he
guy's
can't be
like,
triple his size. I mean, to be fair,
okay,
they're lightweights. I mean,
the
it is
camera
what it is.
angles, whatever.
Yeah.
He's a big dude, regardless. Okay, so Paddy's probably on the top of the weight class, and Levitt's on the bottom. So you could go look at the fight, whatever, make your own decision. I'm saying what I saw, but this guy looked way bigger, and then on top of that, you got Michael Bisping being like, the whole time just being like, it's like he's like checking his watch, being like, okay, Paddy, like any second now, like this guy has no chance. And then I think they said they're in the commentary again, they were saying like, oh, he had a great first round, it wasn't that, like, it's whatever. And Bisping's like, wait till you see how it ends. It's like, what do you know? Like, the whole thing was a setup on this dude. And if I were him, I would have been like, okay, great. I took that loss. Dana, slide me some like 10K under the table here.
Wait, are you saying this was a rigged fight?
No, I'm saying he was set up. But afterwards, after this guy sees everything, they got to, like, that guy went in there knowing. Like, you think that he didn't take that fight being like, this is a setup? It's his chance.
I think you take it. I think you take it because you can shock the world. You can beat this guy in his hometown. You can take all his smoke.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. But he's got to know it's a setup.
Yeah, it was a tough call. It was a tough fight, but hopefully they put Paddy up against someone. I don't know. I'm looking at the rankings now for lightweight. I don't know who he fights next. He's got to fight a striker.
They're just gonna fight another soup can.
No. I mean, the thing though, when you're saying like setting him up, though, they blacked out the lights for him. Right?
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
this dude is the third fight on the card, right?
Yeah,
and they're blacking the lights out for him.
I wouldn't be surprised if the music was louder. They probably pumped in crowd sounds through the PA. Like,
yeah, I mean, they had the music singing, like it. They had this guy set up. I mean, they really wanted him to win. They wanted him to win.
Listen,
but god damn it,
Levitt. They probably played his wrong walkout song. They probably gave him the wrong size shorts by accident. They probably gave him some bad news right before he walked out.
Gave him the wrong
banking information was wrong. You're not going to get paid for another 6 months. I don't know. Like, the guy got set up.
Gave him the wrong directions to the arena.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. No, I don't know, man. We'll see what's next for him. We'll see. I don't know. Anyways, I don't even know what to say. I'm just sad because I like the Monkey King. He came on our podcast. He's a good dude.
I feel bad, but
yeah, of course. Well, because you
listen, like I said, it's whatever. It is what it is. If you're gonna be in the spotlight and you want it, you got to take it from both sides.
Of course.
And again, it's not an attack on him. It's almost, I feel bad for him. Like, it's the UFC. Like, these guys just straight up set this dude up.
Well, I don't even know where Paddy is on the rankings. Like, Jordan Levitt is ranked 52. Where the hell is, I don't know what site I'm on, but rankingmma.com has Jordan Levitt at 52. I don't even see Paddy Pimblett unless I passed by him and I missed it. But I don't know who he fights next. Does he fight a top 15? I guess so.
Yeah.
Oh, he's ranked 30. Oh, okay. He's 39. So he was already up there. So, with this win, I don't know, top 20, top 15 guy, he's got to be fighting next, because you can't look, you're not going to pull like a Sean O'Malley and make him fight nobodies for too long. You know what I mean? Again, no offense to anybody, but like, yeah, he's got to fight a top 15 guy pretty quick. And apparently they had already re-signed his contract, blah, blah, blah. So the guy's on good money. Make him earn it. Like, let's see.
The thing is, like, if you set him up like this past fight, like this weekend, like, the UFC, they're geniuses when it comes to marketing and sales and everything. You can't discredit that. They got every single penny out of that guy this weekend.
Oh yeah.
Like, they got everything out of it. Even with the lights going down, the hype up, he could not be any bigger than he's ever been in this exact moment. And they capitalized on every single penny of what they pay him.
Yeah.
So the next fight just matters to get a little bit more, to capitalize a little bit more. they're going to go back, readjust, see where he's at. And I hate that I'm being so political about it, because coming from like a mixed martial arts background for so long and being like a purist, like, you know, train hard, eat good, and fight, and that's that'll get you there. Like it's you know, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting older and grouchier, but like I'm seeing it from all angles, and it's tough to watch.
I will say one thing, which I've said it on this podcast a few times. That gym that Jordan Levitt is attached to has lost a lot of fights now. A lot. I'm talking like 10 or 11 possibly in a row in the UFC. That gym is not... It's
because it's all a conspiracy. The UFC probably funds that gym and tells them like, hey...
No,
here's a bonus. What gym is it? Are you naming names or no?
Everybody will know the name of the gym. It's Syndicate MMA. We've had plenty of their fighters on our podcast. It's a great gym. John Wood there, Joanne Calderwood, blah, blah, blah. Great gym. But the results are there. I mean, I can't speak to it any other way. And I can't help but think there's a thing there too. I'm not saying that they're funding the gym as you are, but I'm just saying,
right.
If you're at that gym and you're seeing like 8, 9, 10 of your fighters and your co-fighters lose, at some point are you like, shit? You know, Gillian Robertson left ATT because she was saying I didn't get enough attention at the time. That was like, she's quoted in other interviews as saying that like, I wasn't given enough attention. That's why she left. She went off with Dean Thomas training in his garage because that was better than being at a powerhouse gym where she wasn't getting the focus. Now she's found Goat Shed and blah, blah. So that's great. Sometimes you got to do that, man. Sometimes you got to switch gym. Sometimes you got to like find a place that's suitable for you. Yeah, maybe absolutely. Where the energy is a little different, right? But anyways, best of luck to everybody. Let's take a look at UFC 277 before we're done here today. Here's the poster. Do you notice how good Venezuelan Vixen looks? They are giving her the respect she deserves. She's got a great photo of her. Yeah. I'm annoyed that Nunes is holding a belt in this photo. Right? Like,
yeah.
It's the featherweight belt she's holding, obviously. But this fight is not for your featherweight title. So put that fucking aside. I feel that's a little bit disrespectful to Pena. What do you think about that?
Yeah, like for sure. I mean, Pena's build above her, which is good.
Yeah.
Again, goddamn I don't know. I feel like you're drawing me into these political talks because, like, again, it's a sales tactic. And now it looks like you've got two champions fighting each other. Like, it looks great.
Yeah.
For those purists, it's like, well, it's not for your belt. You don't have this belt.
But I don't mind if you're holding two belts when you're the champ and you're coming in with the one belt. So you're like, well, fuck it, I'm going to hold my other one too.
That's a double standard.
But in this case, I don't know, man. I don't like it. If I'm Pena, I'm mad at that. And I know Pena's had some issues with like marketing and stuff like that with her as well. So I can't see that she'd be happy with this. Anyways, this weekend we've got the fights. Oh, friend of the podcast is on the card. We've got Ji-Yeon Kim, Fire Fist Ji-Yeon Kim. I think she's on the early prelims against Cheyenne Edwards.
Okay.
I think that's her name. But Ji-Yeon Kim, that said, she was training at Syndicate MMA for a long, long time. But since her last fight, she went over to Thailand, and she's been in Thailand this whole time. She's only now, I think just last week, come back to Vegas and back at Syndicate for like the week before. But all her training has been done in Thailand. So when she kicks ass this weekend, this does not mess up my conspiracy theory or my you know what I mean? Like, because she was training in Thailand the whole time, man. It's totally different. All right, main card. What do we got here? Anthony Smith versus Magomed Angkolev.
What happened to Anthony Smith? Is he back? Like, is he gonna?
He's the Lionheart. What do you mean? He's a commentator.
I love
he
this guy.
Commentates on the desk. He's a smart guy.
I really like him. And I feel like he's gonna be one of those guys that just never really got the title. You know? Yeah.
No, it's never gonna happen. Just make your pick.
Oh, we're
Anthony
just picking.
Smith. Yeah, we don't need to go through in detail. Anthony Smith or Magomed Angkolev.
I'm gonna say Magomed.
Magomed is 17-1, hasn't lost since 2018 to Paul Craig of all people. Triangle choke. Because he didn't figure out how to beat him. But anyways, due to 17-1, yeah, I've got Angkolev on that fight. Next one is Alexandra Pantoja versus Alex Perez. These are two flyweights. Pantoja is the guy that should have been fighting for the title. I don't think you care about either of these guys, I'm betting.
I don't think I've ever seen...
Maybe
I think I've seen
either of
Alex
them.
Perez fight. I'm going to say Alex Perez, but...
Alex Perez?
Yeah.
All right. I will go with...
I'll bet your mortgage on it.
I've already got a second mortgage on the house. That's fine. I'm going to go with Pantoja on that one. Then we've got Sergey Pavlovich versus Derrick Lewis. All right. Does Derrick Lewis continue his kind of run back or no? Pavlovich is a monster. He's 15-1, only ever losing to Alistair Overeem.
Okay, I'm gonna just make a quick disclaimer before I make this pick.
Yeah.
Just in general, I never bet on fights, and I do my best at this. Is really hurts me to choose fights because I always choose wrong. I choose emotionally with who I like.
Yeah.
And I always choose wrong. I would lose all my money if I bet. But I'm gonna try and not go with my heart because I love the Derrick Lewis story, and I basically just love his social media presence. It's so good.
Yeah.
And that is enough for me to pick him to win, but I'm going to have to go the other way on this one.
With Pavlovich?
I'm going to go against my heart.
Yeah, Pavlovich is, like I said, 17-1, only lost in 2018 to Overeem. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Lewis is one win in his last 3. Pavlovich wins this one handily.
Yeah.
Co-main event, the stupidest fight ever. Interim title fight, which is not needed at all.
Yeah, what's the story?
The story is that Davidson Figueiredo is like injured a little bit, so then they're just like, well, fuck it, let's just give Moreno another title. So
because Moreno's like, he's so lovable,
he loves Lego. Who doesn't like this kid? And you've got Kai Kara France, who's a good guy. I mean, he's a good fighter, but I don't know that your average MMA fan knows who the hell that guy is. No offense. 24-9. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Blah blah blah. He beat Cody Garbrandt. Is he being set up?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's a good dude, man. I mean, these flyweights, there's so many good ones. Moreno obviously just came off like 17 fights against Figueiredo in a row. So whatever. I don't even care about this fight at all.
Moreno. Okay, I'll pick Moreno for you.
Moreno lost. I'm going to go with Kai Kara France, and he's going to screw up the whole plans for this division. So I'm going to say Kai Kara France takes it. Okay. Main event, the most important fight in UFC history. Juliana Pena, the champ. We called it on this podcast. We called the round. We called the method. We knew that she was going to beat Nunes the first time. Can Pena beat Nunes now?
Never. Not a chance.
You think Nunes wins it?
Of course.
No. Nunes is on her way to retirement, my friend. Nunes doesn't even want to fight anymore.
Who said that?
I did.
Wow.
Very clearly. Run it back. Nunes is not going to win this fight. What do you think? How do you got this fight going?
I got Nunes on this.
No, I know. Thank you.
It's like, how do you not choose her? Like, she's a beast.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, nothing against Juliana, because she's obviously a great fighter as well too. But I just think that Nunes is she's just more talented. She's all around, got the experience. She's better. If her head's in the game, she's gonna pull it off.
Yeah. I do not think so. I think Nunes is on her way out mentally. Speaking of ATT, she left ATT because she just felt like there were too many women at the gym and they weren't focused on her. So she left the gym. I don't even know where she is now. She's in motherhood. You know, her and her wife had a baby. They're living the life. I'm sure she's got kabillions of dollars. I don't think she's in this anymore. The way that she lost to Pena the first time was ridiculous. Like, I don't even understand that choke did not make sense.
Well, I guess we'll see, because like sometimes, like you've seen it before, where like champs get a little run down and they're comfortable and whatever, and then they
Yeah,
lose,
champ life.
and then they either they bounce back because they're a real athlete and they just care about winning, or they fall off because they made it and they're like, I did it already. Like, I'm good.
It's hard to wake
We'll
up
see.
when you're sleeping in
We'll see.
silk sheets.
Yeah, we'll see what she's made of. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. I think Julian Pena gets it done. I think Julian Pena is very, very hungry and motivated, as she was the first time. So I think she's going to repeat this performance. And it's the best goddamn thing for the bantamweight division. Let's not lie. Right? If she wins, it shakes things up.
Yeah.
She becomes a champion that is beatable. You know what I mean? Like, she's going to be a champion that people think they have a chance at.
Yeah.
I think Nunes has like this big aura of like undefeatable GOAT status that when people went up against her, they're like, fuck, I got no chance.
Yeah. And there does become a point in every champ's career that's gone on for this long that it just becomes like come on, like you look at even like Anderson Silva, when he went through the like Talis Leites, Patrick Cote, Damian Maia phase, like all of those fights were kind of just like, okay, like
line them up.
Yeah, like, okay, this is boring. Even like George St. Pierre started to get through that as well too, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, for the sport and for the division, you don't want to see Amanda win that, but I don't know. Again, I suck at choosing. I pick wrong. I pick with my heart. It's because I like her.
All right.
For no reason other than I like her.
That's fine. So we're going. I'm going Pena. You're going Nunes. That's the fights. Martnello, my longtime buddy, training partner, coach. Thank you so much for being the co-host today.
Timmy B, thank you for having me.
I appreciate it, man. I do want to give a little thing. I know we're a little bit long on time, but I do want to say I appreciate you. You were the one guy that really helped inspire me to start the podcast in the beginning. Spoiler alert, Martnello and I were supposed to do this together at the time when it began, and then he bailed out to become a famous DJ.
Bailed out.
Yeah. How can people find you? Where can people find you? If they love you, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, find me on all the basic social media spots, Facebook, if that's still a thing, but mainly Instagram, at Martnello, Martnello. Check my music out. It's on all streaming platforms. I had a release at the beginning of this year on a wicked record label called Future Sound of Egypt. It's a great track. It's being supported all over the world by some of the biggest DJs and producers out there. So getting a lot of support for there. So make sure you go and check that out on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you stream your music.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Where can people see you live next? Do we know?
Well, it's been a little difficult with the pandemic and shows opening up again, and I think the market's kind of just settling back in. So I don't have anything lined up right now. I have a few things in my back pocket that are coming. Nothing's official, and if I learned anything, it's you don't say something until it's official. I can't be that guy that gives the leak.
All right, fine. Follow Martnello on the socials and you will see all the news about him. Buddy, thank you so much for coming to the podcast. I had a great time. Gillian the Savage Robertson, very happy that she came on. Hopefully she's going to do great things, right? Representing Canada.
Amazing.
Pretty cool, man. Super nice girl. So we're happy to have her on. Buddy, have a good one.
Jim.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for
having me. See you guys.
Me.
See you, bye.